Right then, lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the evening update as we dive into the latest around Arsenal and the transfer market. Now, in this video, I'm also going to share some very sensitive news and very sensitive on a very sensitive topic. But I request you to stay calm. I request you to stay calm until we get more information about the topic we will be discussing about. So in this video, we'll talk about Gnabry to Arsenal. It looks like Manchester United and Manchester City are both exploring a move for Gnabry. Manchester City have sent their scouts already to Germany to look at the player and try to see whether he fits into the profile of a player Pep Guardiola would be signing, provided Raheem Sterling leaves the club this summer. Man United under Erik ten Hag are also looking for a new wide player alongside Jadon Sancho. It looks like Gnabry is one of the names that have been mentioned. Fabrizio Romano continues to claim that Arsenal are not interested in Gnabry, although according to Ben Jacobs, Arsenal are 100% interested in the player. They're exploring a 60 million euro deal, just like they were exploring for Rafinha. So we're gonna be diving into all that and try to make sense of all those reports and see where the player could actually end up playing football next campaign. Do me a huge favor, hit the like button. Let's get this video to 800 likes and also subscribe to the podcast. Let's get the podcast to 52,000 subscribers. Now, to get off the news, to start off the show, let's start off with a very controversial and rather complicated report that has been running around and making circulations on the media and around the internet, that an international player in England was arrested on charges of rape this morning in North London. His identity was not disclosed for legal reasons, but he is in his late 20s and is scheduled to participate in the World Cup with his country. It is not yet clear if he will be joining his team for the new season. That is the report that is actually making a couple of circulations around the internet. Now, what I want to confirm here is that the report is 100% true. It is the information in the report is 100% authentic. And what I want to talk about exactly is that all names around players in England that I've mentioned are 100% at the moment not true, especially Arsenal names of Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey. I will confirm to you lads that at the moment we do not know anything. There is nothing we know about the tragedy, and there is nothing we know about the scenario. It could be any player from any team. We do not have any confirmations that it is an Arsenal player. Although people on Twitter are trying to make it look like it was an Arsenal player, it was not an Arsenal player for now. Until we get conclusive evidence and conclusive information from the police, it is not an Arsenal player. And I will not add anything to that. But like I said, this is the podcast where you get the latest around Arsenal. If anything happens, if we get any information around that, I will definitely let you know. Stay calm. Absolutely stay very calm. Now, let's get into the Gnabry dilemma and try to understand why exactly are we having all sorts of reports from all directions trying to collide and debunk each other. First and foremost, let us try to look at what Fabrizio Romano has said, because you would want to believe that Romano is the more authentic reporter as compared to the others that have written and spoken around this one. Fabrizio Romano, in the last 48 hours, has come out and produced information showing that Arsenal are not even discussing Gnabry. They do not look at him as a potential target at the Emirates Stadium. However, Fabrizio does not give a reason why, like it was given a couple of weeks ago, that Arsenal do not want to explore the deal for Gnabry because of the wages. He simply says Arsenal do not look at him as an active target, and they will not try to sign him this summer. However, Ben Jacobs, one of those reliable reporters, giving us information on Yuri Tillemans very, very consistently, and also has been giving us information on Gabriel Jesus as well, has come out and debunked the theory and debunked all the information provided by Fabrizio Romano. For him, he believes and he says that Arsenal are interested in signing Gnabry. Arsenal are exploring the deal because it falls into the region, the financial region of 60 million euros, just like they wanted to pay for Rafinha. However, they, according to Ben Jacobs, Arsenal will need to be a little bit more decisive on Gnabry, as a couple of clubs are interested in the player. And that is where we are going to have our next conversation about. According to the Mirror and Daily Mail, Arsenal will be rivaled by the two Manchester giants, Man United and Manchester City, for the signature of Gnabry. One thing I will tell you about Gnabry, and at least a little bit of what we know, between him and the situation at Bayern Munich before we enter the rivalry, is that Bayern offered him a 220,000 new contract. The player until now has refused to pen down. He has refused to put ink to paper. We do not understand whether his motive is either to leave Bayern, try a new adventure, go somewhere else and explore very, very different options, or he wants more money. But in my opinion, at 26 years of age, he's a top player, isn't he? 220,000 per week. That is around 10 million euros per year. That's a lot of money. For a player like Gnabry to turn down an offer from Bayern Munich, it really means the intentions are not money. His intentions are not money. He either feels he wants to be part of a different project, he wants to feel some kind of a better environment, different environment, or just to find greener pastures. And greener pastures is with greener pastures, it's not always about money. It's a couple of things. Probably he wants to win the Premier League. Probably he wants to win the FA Cup. Greener pastures would mean very, very different options. But like I said, at the moment, two Manchester clubs, including Manchester United and Manchester City, are rivaling Arsenal for the defender for the winger signature. Now, let's start off with Arsenal. What we understand, or what we've heard from the rumors inside the walls, is that the player would be very, very much willing to come back at the Emirates Stadium. Personally, I don't believe he has unfinished business at the Emirates Stadium. I don't see any kind of unfinished business between us and the player. But he would be willing to join Arsenal and the Mikel Arteta project. That is quite fascinating, given the fact that among all the clubs that are interested or have been reportedly interested in him, we would be the underdogs. I'm talking about Madrid, I'm talking about Liverpool at the moment, and I'm also talking about Manchester City and historically Manchester United. So Arsenal would be the underdogs. So that means that either the player specifically wants a move to the Emirates Stadium, and look, to turn down a contract as heavy as 200,000 per week just because you want to move to Arsenal, you then have to have an assurance that the club will make a move for you. Otherwise, according to reports, Bayern are getting frustrated and they're not happy with the player. So Arsenal's chances of signing the player, in my opinion, if we wanted him, getting him away from Bayern, that is peanuts because he really doesn't want to stay already. And giving him the salary he wants, that would have some kind of a war, a tug of war. But I think it would need Arsenal and Gnabry to both come out of their positions and meet at some point. You will need a compromise at both ends. I don't think that would be a big problem. I don't think that would be a huge problem. I think Arsenal can find themselves a compromise, probably give the player 150,000 per week, and then Gnabry can also come down from those levels that have been set by Bayern and maybe agree a deal to Arsenal for around 160, 150 million euros. Sorry, 50,000 euros. So I think in terms of the pricing, the times of personal terms, it won't be a problem. But are Arsenal really interested in the player? And if we are interested, are we willing to work towards that interest? The other club is Manchester City. And with Manchester City, the motive is 100% genuine. They want the player if they lose Raheem Sterling. So that means if Sterling remains, if Sterling stays, then they do not go for him. In my opinion, Raheem Sterling will go to Chelsea. I mean, I'm no transfer predictor, but when I look at all the rumors and how authentic the sources that are reporting around this are and how advanced it is, I feel Raheem Sterling will move on to Chelsea. And if he goes, then Manchester City will have to find someone else. Serge Gnabry would be a perfect candidate, in my opinion. However, of course, we know Pep Guardiola is not that kind of manager that just goes and signs a player without enough research. Manchester City have already sent in their scouts in Germany to try to look at the player. I think they will observe him across the preseason, try to look at what the player is all about and see whether they can fit into the tactics and detail of a manager like Pep Guardiola. Now, we've had Leroy Sané at Manchester City. Personally, I believe Leroy Sané was a success at City. Many people want to make him a failure, but I don't think he was really a failure. He was a very, very good footballer from Schalke to Manchester City. Very great move. And though Sané didn't establish him as players like Riyad Mahrez and Kevin De Bruyne did, it poses a question whether Serge Gnabry can then come in and be that kind of a player that beats the odds that Leroy Sané didn't do. In my opinion, Gnabry would be a very good player for Manchester City and Pep Guardiola. Very, very versatile across that front line. And I think he's one of the players that can give you numbers just like Raheem Sterling has been doing. At 26 years of age, I think he's in that age where Pep Guardiola is happy to work with him. Because Pep is now looking at winning the Champions League, and that is his main focus. So he wants players that have developed, matured enough, and they understand the task ahead. So that would not really be a big problem for him at Manchester City. But the question for me, like I said, is if City go for him, does he tick the boxes that Pep Guardiola wants? We don't know. Probably we will know. Probably we will never know. Now, the last option is Manchester United at the moment. Man United will actually try to sign in another winger. At the moment, it looks like they will be focusing on Ajax's Anthony. However, if they fail to get him, then they can explore other options, including Serge Gnabry. Now, if you look at them having Jadon Sancho on the left or probably on the right, depending on where Erik ten Hag will decide to play him, then you think Serge Gnabry would be a very great addition. A player who is exactly, for me, he's a replica of what Jadon Sancho is in terms of scoring goals, creating chances for the team, and also being that versatile player. And the amount of quality he would bring to this team is also absolutely magnificent. If they've signed Eriksen, and you look at what Eriksen brings to the team, creativity, experience, leadership, and if the right mentality, then Serge Gnabry would also be that player for Manchester United. Brings in that kind of mentality, the winning mentality, the big team mentality from Bayern to Man United, and the player for me that has that style, that flair, and that beauty and the quality, of course, to fit into what Erik ten Hag would want at Man United. So where will he go? Arsenal, Man United, Manchester City, willing to join Arsenal. There is nothing agreed between us and Bayern, and there is nothing agreed between us and the player. Personal terms never discussed before. Romano says the player is not even on Arsenal's radar, and Ben Jacob says the player is on Arsenal's radar. They're willing to spend 60 million euros on him. What is it going to be? Who is it going to be that will sign the player? I will keep you updated if anything new happens on that one.